What a day to be alive, everybody. What a day to be alive. We have a Rockstar tank. And if you have a look, actually, it's really cool. If you have a look, g'day guys, how are you going today? We are back with a new video, and this time we're having a look at a pretty cool tank. I must admit, despite the intro, this tank is a pretty damn good tank. It is, of course, the Primo Victoria, aka the Strv 81, a Swedish tier 8 brand new medium tank. This thing is really cool, guys. I mean, it's so odd, but it's also like, it does everything the Centurion at tier 8 does, but better. Like, so much better. So guys, as always, we're going to start off with the history of this tank, then we're going to move into its top 3 and its bottom 3 quirks, then we're going to have a look at the brand score, we're going to give it a brand score, show some gameplay, and end with what I think about this tank. So guys, onto the history of this tank. Now, this tank is, of course, based on the Centurion tanks. It's actually based on the Centurion Mark III and the Mark V tanks, because what Sweden did was they bought a whole bunch of these different these about 250, I should say, Centurions, both of the Centurion Mark III and Mark V variants, and they all put them under the designation as Strv 81. I believe this one here is based off the Centurion Mark III, although I could be wrong. But regardless, guys, this is called the Primo Victoria, and it's actually themed off the Sabaton band, which is a heavy metal band in Sweden, I'm pretty certain. So that's why it's got this pretty cool looking camo scheme on it, and all these like odd kind of quirks and features. Like in the back, you can see all of their guitars and their branding everywhere. Also a signature on the top of the turret roof here. So it's actually based on a real life tank. They did this to a real life Centurion. They kind of added all these insane kind of liveries and different things to the tank. So although the history of this tank is quite rich, the history of this tank in particular really is not very big at all. Onto the quirks of this tank now. The top 3 quirks. You can't talk about this tank and the quirks of this tank without talking about the band, of course. So it has some pretty hilarious band only quirks. For example, if you have a look at the crew, they are all Sabaton crew members. So these are the 5 members of the Sabaton band. And they also have the voiceovers for the Sabaton band as the crew, so when you get damaged, it will say it with the lead singer's voice, I'm pretty certain. And also the brothers in arms are pretty hilarious. They're the devil horns, so that's pretty cool. It's a really cool attention to detail I really like about this tank. Now, also the camouflage of this tank, although you can't change the camouflage of this tank, it does come with that booster already. So those of you might be disappointed, but you can't actually change that. So we kind of got to love the tank the camo scheme, or not. Maybe you can just wait for the standard Strv 81 to go on sale sometime into the future. Now, also guys, this tank does have APCR rounds as standard. So what you'll find is that this tank is very much similar to the Centurion, I think Centurion 1 or whatever, at tier 8, the British Centurion, but it does have that, like, quite a few features actually over that are better than the Centurion. But this one also gets APCR rounds standing, meaning that the shell velocity is really fast, which is really great so you don't have to lead shots against the enemy. Now, onto the bottom 3 quirks of this tank. Its gun handling really isn't that great due to its due to its hidden values. So although its technical gun handling stats, I think 0.33, which we will get onto in the brand score, it's otherwise it's just not very great. It does, in my opinion anyway, miss a lot of the shots in the experience that I've had, which is kind of frustrating. Also guys, it does feel quite sluggish to drive. Like, although its stats aren't bad at all, they're not great. They're pretty damn average, in fact. So this isn't really a tank you can just bomb it around the battlefield. It is kind of sluggish at times, so that is something to remember. And also, it does just feel like a complete reskin of the tier 8 Centurion tank. Like, yes, it does perform a little bit better. Again, we'll get onto that. But it's pretty much the exact same tank. So that is something, again, you really do have to keep in mind. This isn't something that's like completely unique. Like, yes, it looks unique, it has a unique crew, etc. But performance wise, it performs pretty much the same as any sort of high tier British medium tank, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So looking at the brand score for this tank, if we have a look at the DPM, we can see the DPM is 1,840, giving it a 5 out of 10. It's really not that great with DPM, guys. Penetration wise though, this tank has 226 millimeters of penetration, giving it a 6 out of 10, meaning that you don't have to fire those premium rounds, guys. That's really something that's great. Of course, unless you're firing at a tier 10 heavy tank, that's different, but regardless, this tank is pretty good at making money. Now, the shown dispersion value of this tank is 0.33, which gives it a 3 out of 5, and its hidden dispersion value of the tank is 0.18, giving it a 4 out of 5. Now, the aiming time of this tank is 2.3 seconds, giving it a 7 out of 10. And the gun vertical movement of this tank, that is its gun elevation and its gun depression, is 10 degrees for gun depression, giving it a 4 out of 5, and 18 degrees of gun elevation, giving it a 2 out of 5. Now, the survivability of this tank is interesting. So this the frontal hull armor of this tank is easily penetrated by most tanks it sees. In fact, you're going to see in the replay that I show you that it's pretty damn easy to be penetrated in this tank. And also, yeah, the hull armor overall in this tank really isn't that great. You know, having said that, it does have a very strong frontal turret armor, so this tank will bounce a hell of a lot of shots, and with that gun depression as well, you can really utilize going into a hull down position into this tank and just bouncing a shit ton of shots, because it does have a very, very, very strong turret armor, ranging from about 250 to 300 millimeters plus of effective armor protection. Having said that, guys, this tank is made of ammo racks every time, and I'm not kidding. Every time you get hit in the hull, you will be ammo racked, as in your ammo rack will be damaged. I haven't been completely ammo racked in the tank yet, but that is something that's so frustrating about this tank. It's like playing a Chinese tank. So that's something you do have to keep in mind, guys. The ammo rack on this tank is incredibly weak. So as such, I'm giving this tank a 6 out of 10 for survivability. But let's have a look at tanks.gg, the viewer of the tank, and see exactly how effective the armor on this tank is. So guys, this is the STRV 81 standard model, but of course they are the exact same tank, so it'll be the exact same armor. Now, although it does have a little cupola on the top, it isn't very easy to hit, and this frontal turret armor is very strong indeed. I mean, if we have a look at the hull armor in general, it's pretty weak. 120 millimeters, everything you see will go through that. But if it's angled, you can still get off some random bounces of ricochets, but you can't rely on the frontal hull armor at all. It's not really going to do you any good. It's kind of where the turret comes in. The turret is very strong indeed, although if you are facing it head on and you do have, let's say, premium rounds loaded, all you have to do is shoot at the gun manlet and you should be able to go through. It isn't that strong in this area, but otherwise I wouldn't risk it. I'd just shoot at the hull if you can see it. Also, guys, it's got a lot of spaced armor, so this tank can pull off some pretty good ricochets. I would almost hesitate to say it can side scrape as well, because it can get some pretty damn insane angles going off there. But if you are as well using that kind of the hull down position, then this turret just becomes completely insane. Although, be careful for that hull, because it really isn't strong. Even if you are going hull down, it's not amazingly strong at all. Otherwise, guys, there's nothing too special about the tank in terms of armor. It's not that great. Anyway, guys, back onto the brand score now. The mobility of this tank, it has a power to weight ratio of 17.72, giving it a 3 out of 5, and has an average traverse speed of 36 degrees per second, giving it another 3 out of 5. And an interesting fact here, guys, the turret traverse and the tank traverse are actually the exact same at 36 degrees. So I think that's pretty interesting. There's no real advantage to it. It's just kind of cool, I guess. Now, the view range of this tank is fantastic at 400 meters, giving it a 9 out of 10. Is really good, guys. So I recommend putting a coated optics on this tank until you get a better crew, and that way you can go to the max spotting view range of 445 meters, I believe, and just spot tanks before they're able to see you. So that's something that I really do recommend. And now also, guys, its concealment while stationary, or its camouflage value while stationary not firing, is 13.84, giving it a 6 out of 10. Now that really isn't that great, but if you combine it with a camouflage crew, you can get it into the above 20 range, so that's something to consider as well, guys. So value wise for this tank, I think that this tank is quite a valuable little tank. I think it's great to have a tank introduced into World of Tanks that's just an all-round pretty average tank, but it excels at being average. It's not situational like something like the Chrysler K or the heavy tanks. It's pretty much a tank that you can rely on its armor if you use it in the right situations. And in general, I just think it's I think if you don't have a new tank, or you're new to having a premium tank, or you really just like this theme tank from the band, then I think it's pretty valuable. So overall, guys, I've given this tank a 9 out of 10 for value, because I think that in terms of a premium tank, this is kind of where premium tanks should be at. Something that's pretty good, but not too good, if that makes sense. So overall, guys, I give this tank a 61 out of 100. I think that this tank is a pretty damn good tank in terms of it just being something that's... So overall, guys, I give this tank a 61 out of 100 for the brand score. I think it's worth purchasing if you are looking for a new premium tank, or maybe you're bored of your current premium tanks. I'm not sure. Whatever your situation is, I really like this tank. It stacks up really well in the game. And anyway, guys, enough rambling on. Let's have a look at some gameplay. So I thought, guys, because I haven't played very many games in this tank and I don't have many replays, and no one's really submitted any replays yet, let's just have a live gameplay here and see exactly how it performs in game. So guys, we've loaded up onto Abby here, and we're just gonna kind of see how it goes. Again, guys, don't expect the world. I'm really not that amazing of a player at all, but I am gonna try still, of course, to do some serious amount of damage. But yeah, let's just see how it turns out. So straight off the bat, guys, you can see that its mobility is average. Its kind of gun bloom is average. It is very much, in every sense of the word, an average tank. It doesn't excel in anything, but it doesn't perform poorly in really anything either. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, guys, it is a pretty big tank. Don't forget that. But I think it looks pretty cool as well. It's got a really awesome camo scheme. Got some neat little features, like on the front you can see those little, I guess, those ramming kind of track mudguard things. I'm not sure, but regardless, it is pretty cool in my opinion. Now we're going to try and go into some sort of position that allows us to go hull down, because we really do want to stop, or we really want to utilize that our gun depression here and our really strong turret. We got pretty good penetration as well, guys, so let's not forget that. This side's always a bit more awkward to do anything. Hopefully we can spot anyone trying to climb up as well. Oh shit. I do want to keep my turret facing this way so we can stop anyone from trying to destroy us. I'm going to go up a bit forward. Oh, that's a nasty tank. We couldn't block a shell from the front of that HE there. Ah, wonder where that hit. I'm not sure, because it's HE rounds. Unfortunately, we can't do much to the front of that OHO, so I might load some premium rounds here. It's kind of sad that. Now he doesn't really stand too much of a chance, although these rounds don't have an insane amount of penetration. 260 isn't anything to snub your nose at. Let's see if we can't get some shots off. I'm not sure what that 112 is doing, to be honest. He seems to just be sitting there waiting. And that OHO has also given up and is just pushing up against our... we got a pretty decent amount of tanks here. At this point, I'm going to go around and help push onto this flank. Although really that IS-3 should be doing most of the work here. He seems to be completely AFK, and that Persian can piss off, really. We'll get some shots into the lower plate of this guy. He is completely AFK. So we might as well farm some damage on him. I'm also worried, guys, that he's going to not be AFK, turn around and start shooting at us. Hence, I'm shooting at him. But I am trying to be cautious of that OHO. as well. Okay, now I'm going to load premium rounds so I can try and get through the turret front of that OHO. And that's all we really needed, guys. Oh, it's become a bit of a clusterfuck. That's alright. We really do need to be careful against that OHO, guys. He isn't firing at us, though. It seems we've run out of premium rounds. I am just standing right in front of this tank, but he seems to be diverting his attention elsewhere. And we've got a Scorpion G there as well, but this is really a big threat right now.
We didn't penetrate their armor. We will have more engine power.
Oh, I'm getting hit from all angles. So I'm loading up the HE rounds here. That IS-3 should take some hits for us. But he did 120 damage, that's a bit disappointing. Alright guys, and you can just kind of see how modules in this tank do get taken out pretty damn easily. I gotta say, it is quite frustrating. And now we're gonna really struggle to get back to the base, which is again disappointing. Almost 3 seconds and we're pretty much stuck at this point. Pardon me, sorry. I had the flu. Very interesting stuff. We do have 445 meters of view range though, guys, so hopefully we can get some shots off. That's not great. That's not a great situation. And we were taken out. That was bound to happen. I did rush forward, but regardless, it was bound to happen. Hopefully, guys, though, you can see that or how the tank performs anyway. It does have a few drawbacks, mainly being the module damage, in my opinion, especially that ammo rack. It does get destroyed so often in the few games that I've played. But you can also say that it doesn't perform too badly at all. 2,768 damage done is pretty damn good. Also, the penetration on its ammunition is also really good. You could see we were able to fire standard rounds into the lower plate of that that Japanese super heavy tank, which is an impressive feat on its own. So overall, this tank, again, it just does everything average, but average in a really good kind of way. It just excels at doing everything average, I think, is the main take home of this tank. But that is, of course, you know, the kind of the British high tier medium tank kind of way. Having a look at the post-game stats, guys, this isn't very interesting in my opinion, but you could see that we did come out with the highest damage on the team. 2,768 is nothing to snub your nose at, so that's something that's pretty good in this tank, pretty impressive. We only did 88 assistance points, but we still were able to make a profit, even though we did fire all those premium rounds. It could be because we do have some boosters for this weekend, but it's still pretty cool in my opinion. I like this tank overall, but I'll tell you exactly what my thoughts are wrapping up this video. So guys, my final thoughts on this tank are, should you get it? Is it worth the gold? In my opinion, yes it is, although you know your own personal finances. This is a great all-round tank, and if you're looking for something that's new and different and kind of cool, then 100% go for it. Also guys, if you like the British high tier medium tanks, then this is exactly what you've been looking for in my opinion. But anyway guys, thank you so very much for watching. If you did like the video, please do leave it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, do subscribe. Also, we are still running a 15,000 gold giveaway at the time of this video anyway, so do have a look into that. I'll leave it down in the link below. Otherwise guys, thank you so much for watching.